The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
I think I've always believed in the paranormal, but the deeper I get in this field, the more questions I uncover. I started a program called Seeking the Paranormal in an effort to gain insight and dialogue from others interested in the same things as me. And while we've learned a lot together, the questions still remain. So I'm bringing my thoughts to the airwaves, and I've brought along my friends, Adam and John, to share in the fun. Together, we'll tackle the tough topics and debate the evidence as we continue to seek the paranormal. Happy Halloween, my friends, and John and Adam as well. We turned the light on, or turned the light off, I guess, upstairs, so hopefully we won't be interrupted by any more trick-or-treaters, but there's always that chance.
Give me your candy.
That's right.
No more hot chocolate for you.
No, yeah, it snowed here, so there's maybe an inch or so of snow on the ground yet. So I'm handing out hot chocolate, which, if I can toot my own horn, was a genius move on my part because it's a lot cheaper than candy.
All the parents seem to like it. They thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, but they're going to add menthol shots to theirs when they get home.
Well, of course they are.
All right, well, Darren is ready for us to give him a call.
Go, Darren, go.
Hello.
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween.
How was your night out with your son?
It was a struggle. He lasted about 20 minutes, and then I had a whole bunch of errands to run, so...
Yeah, that's alright then.
20 minutes out of 2 hours.
Makes for a quick night. You're gonna have to make it up to him next year, though.
Yeah, well, Mother Nature killed it today, so...
Yeah. Well, there you go. Alright, sir, what you got for John tonight?
Well, this is more on the lines of psychics. And I know how much you love psychics.
Hey, you're going to make me come out and say something I don't want to say.
So the question is, so when a psychic is channeling a spirit, and it's also tied in with true crime, do you think that the psychic can solve a cold case while channeling?
Well, that's a question I've asked myself 100,000 times. If there really are so many psychics who can do these things, why aren't they used more by the police department?
Well, I can kind of answer that. And I this isn't my answer, but right now there's no way for them to use that testimony in court. So...
Put them on... No, they don't need it for proof, but it'll be like an anonymous tip-off. Just say, this guy did it, go look in his basement.
And they may do that and just not come out. I don't know. The only reason I know that we listened to a podcast, gosh, it's been several months ago. I don't even remember what show it was on Paranormal Buzz, though. And they had a psychic who says she works with the police quite frequently on cold cases. And that was my question to her. Go ahead.
I think that was on the mind's eye.
Yes, that sounds right.
Okay, let me put it this way then. People don't understand wholly DNA, but we use it as proof.
Right.
And that came through because it was a valuable tool and was proving to get suspects polted up. So why are psychics different than the study of DNA? You could have a psychic expert come in and say, this is how it works, this was the person we caught. What is the... I don't see the difference myself. Because the normal... Proven. Well, exactly. But wouldn't catching lots of people proven? The same as DNA wasn't proven until we did lots of DNA stuff and then it proved that it's...
I don't know, the law's so, touchy, though, about who you can talk to, what you can ask them, with what information. I don't know how that works.
Have you you guys ever talk to Kelly McCarville Moonspitter?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had to say it,
Actually, John he's been talking to her quite a bit lately and researching his second book.
She's very fascinated with his brain.
Yes.
With his brain?
I'm keeping it.
I have never seen her be silent in a podcast for a while.
Yeah.
With him being on.
Yeah. It
Sorry.
was kind of entertaining.
I don't know. I don't really prep much, and there isn't much prepping you can do for stuff like that anyway. So, I don't. I mean, I filter what I say, but I don't filter the thought. Does that make sense? So.
Yeah. The reason why I brought her up is that she went to the Axe Murder Hall. She
Valiska.
had such a thing as to what all happened and stuff, and she was quite affected by it. Why I brought it up with the cold case and true crime and all that stuff and tie her along with it because of that effect that it had on her at the Axe Murder Halls.
There's been lots of psychics been going there, though, over the years with ghost hunting groups. And, and there's been various theories. So, and I'm not saying there are no true psychics. The problem is, which ones are the true ones and which ones aren't, I guess.
Yeah.
And when we did Valiska, we got absolutely nothing. I mean, we got no EVPs, we didn't even get a heavy oppressive feeling that we get sometimes, and we're not psychic. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like a small rental house that had been done up as in olden times. If it didn't have a story, I doubt anyone would go there. But
my concern with psychics and solving these cold cases is, we still aren't any closer to knowing who killed that family, and we still aren't any closer to knowing who killed the Black Dahlia.
who shot Kennedy?
Well, you can get a hold of Mr. Moon for that answer.
Technicians assist.
Oh my goodness.
I'm one who does believe in psychic abilities. I think part of it is the law prevents us from looking into some people more than others because, like I said, you have to follow, because otherwise you're infringing on their rights. The other problem is, of course, these are cold cases, and a lot of the times the people involved are dead. So it's speculation at this point. I mean, we're never going to know, really, who killed Black Dahlia. We're never going to know who killed, everybody in Valiska and everybody that's attached to that. I mean, because that's just one of several murders that are tied together. That's part of a serial murder case.
Yeah.
Here's another question. If we flip that the other way around,
Okay.
do they know that someone's going to get murdered, and can they not warn them?
That one I don't think they could, because if that's now your
Or missing people, when people get kidnapped and go missing.
I don't ever heard of anyone being able to see the future.
Well, how about when people get kidnapped or go missing? Now that you don't need proof for or a court.
That always brings me back to Sylvia Brown when she was on Montel Williams. And, Sylvia Brown, Montel thought she was the greatest thing. And I have to admit, she was the first psychic I ever saw on TV. And I was really excited about her. But she looked at that family straight face, told them their daughter was dead. And in fact, she wasn't. And now that she's also passed away, come to find out, a lot of the cases that she worked on, she was dead wrong on.
Yeah. I mean, what he's talking about, I don't see them dying in the future. Now we're going back to, like, that movie called Final Destination with the
premonition. Yeah, premonition type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great string of films, though?
Yeah.
And once again, that's kind of, and not you personally, but the community as a whole, it's kind of like have your cake and eat it too, because they believe in things like deja vu, where I've been here before, and things like that, which, is the future. So, many people believe in precognition.
Right.
So if you can do precognition, why is that ruling that out? You can't. And there's a lot of times you'll get into a discussion where all of a sudden that's not possible, but later on it is possible because it fits another point that someone's trying to push. So, it's either or for me. Maybe I'm just a little more blinkered, but, I don't see where things can apply to this, but then suddenly not apply to that.
Right.
That was a good question. Oh, that's a good thought-provoking question because there's a lot that goes into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I have quite a bit of psychic questions to ask, but that's one of them that I'm really kind of draws my attention a little bit because, with Shay and Kelly and a lot of them are into the true crime aspect of stuff because they absolutely love watching that stuff.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it's very intriguing and just kind of wondering what happens if they channel. Who can they channel? I mean, they had an experiment with that at the Melbourne Manor with Debbie Martin, and that was very interesting. That was with Raven Rose and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
I guess, and that's another difference is, once again, I'm not being personal, but my first question isn't who do they channel and what are the rules. My first question is, do they channel? And that's why I like to see something come out of it when it happens that isn't generic or, can be taken both ways or many ways. If that's, for me, a psychic will tell me something, that if whoever they're channeling, that I know that they could not possibly have known.
Yeah.
Which, in theory, shouldn't be that hard to do.
No, it's not. And they were doing the Estes method with Roland's son, and then she was part of the deal, and then she ended up channeling. They have it on their Facebook Live on their page there.
Oh, we'll have to check it out.
It was very interesting. I mean, they it got very nerve-wracking, I guess.
Yeah.
In there and stuff because seeing someone channel, you just don't know what's going to come through. If you ever get a chance to do an investigation with Debbie Martin, that'd be interesting to see what comes out if she ends up doing that when you're there.
Yeah.
See that in action, how it actually all works and stuff.
I would love that experience. I think John needs that experience. I think we all do. I mean, because I think, are all different levels of believing in the abilities. And I think that having that experience is important for everybody just to, kind of witness and understand a little bit more about.
I think it is, because you can jump down from the fence on one side or the other.
Yeah.
Right. So until you have that experience, the best you can be is on the fence.
Yeah.
Could bring a lot of that stuff and question into light as to what actually really goes on when they're channeling.
For sure. Well, all right. That was an excellent question. Job well done, sir. As usual. We appreciate it.
Sure. Anytime.
All right. Well, we will catch up with you next week then.
Sounds good.
All right. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
I wish I could remember what podcast that was that we were listening to where they were talking about, just so I could get that. I'll try to find who that lady was, but she was talking about how she works with police. And actually, I think Brian's worked with the police a little bit. The problem is anytime psychics work with the police, they always are told to keep it very hush-hush, which there again, I think is part of why we don't hear about it, because the cops don't want you to hear about it. Because,
so you're going into conspiracy theory now.
No, that would
Jesse
be you,
Ventura.
Pumpkin.
Call him. Let's talk to him.
It's a big police conspiracy.
Listen, hey, I work with cops. I know how these guys function. They will sit and make fun of me non-stop all day. But the second there's nobody else around me, they will come in and share their stories. This is how all of them are. They all have stories.
I bet you got a book that I read that's like cops telling ghost stories to an author, stuff that's happened while they're out.
Yeah.
So
That's what I should be milking them all for that so we can make millions.
yeah, okay.
I'm going to apologize right now. I already told these guys I am getting over walking pneumonia. So I feel like I am full of snot So
Yay, that's appealing.
I'm just
Let's all have that image in our head.
I like to be forthcoming with.
I'm often told I'm full of something else.
Yeah. It's usually not snot.
I'll try to edit my coughs out because they sound awful, but just in case.
Oh, you'll leave my faux pas in, though, won't you?
I will actually, yes. So I don't know if you can hear the creepy crackling in the background, but we've got a camp. The boys are just sitting here staring at my TV screen that has a campfire on it.
I feel warmer. I feel warmer just looking at it. Like I'm like toasty.
They're both. I've got a candle. The lights are off. I've got a candle on my desk to
Me
set
and
the
John
mood.
are laying on a bearskin rug.
They are. They're holding each other, staring at my screen with the campfire. Anywho, before this goes any further on that one, and we offend even more people. All right, there was no stopping it.
That needs to be edited out.
We're gonna have to edit that out. Yeah. Of course, she did miss editing something at our last episode.
I did.
Oopsie.
I did. I'm not going to point out what it was, but yes, Adam and I were listening back to it and went, oh, shit.
Was it me?
It wasn't.
No, it was actually me.
It was
I said
that's
something.
cool. Oh.
Yeah.
That's cool, then. Then you could be the bad man.
Oh, I don't really care.
Well, anyway, so we've got the mood set. It's Halloween night. There's snow on the ground. There shouldn't be.
No.
But it is a perfect night for us to share some of our scary stories.
Ooh, scary stories.
You know when this goes out, it's not going to be Halloween anymore.
I know it's not. That's okay. People leave their Christmas trees up for months. I may leave my Halloween stuff up for months. It could happen.
Leave the body hanging on the porch.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Actually, all the parents who walk by have told us how much they love our Adams Effects screen in our front windows. So, I like to leave that sucker up.
Heck yeah.
There's those videos are expensive though. There's one I want. It's from the movie Trick or Treat, but it's $40 stinking bucks. Have you seen the movie Trick or Treat with the little pumpkin head kid?
Yep.
Yeah, it's that. And he basically just kills people in your front window, but it's $40.
And you can rent a psychopath to do it for less.
Correct.
Probably. Heck, some days I'd do it for less.
Gosh, that's awfully realistic. Where did you get that from? Well, the insane asylum.
Oh, no, Adam decided next year. So right now we've got the Killers one up. So it basically is some women pounding on my window, screaming for help, and there's masked murders behind them with machetes and guns and whatnot. So Adam has decided that next year he's answering the door in a ski mask.
Absolutely. With a machete.
Kids love Halloween, especially little ones.
We only had
Traumatized
we only had 2 children that refused to come to the front door because of the video playing. Yeah.
Well, I do have a very kid-friendly video, but
that's not nearly as much fun though.
It's true. Okay, so speaking of scary things,
Barney does Halloween.
it's not. It's close, but it's not. Actually, non-paranormally related. One of the experiences that probably scared me the most as a child and probably fucked me up the most happened on Halloween night.
Yes.
I was probably 3 or 4 because we lived in Sheldon and I went to kindergarten in Gilman. So it was before I was in kindergarten. I remember I had a faux fur brown coat that my mother made me be a cat for Halloween numerous years in a row so I could wear my winter coat. Because that's what we did in the 70s. But we were back from trick-or-treating.
Did you ever get busted for littering as a cat?
I did not. I did not. We got back from trick-or-treating, though, and my parents rented a room to a couple. Their name was Butch and Becky. And I can remember right where the couch was. And I was sitting on Becky's lap, and Butch was on the other side of the couch. And trick-or-treating was pretty much over, but my dad, there was a knock on the door. My dad opened the door and 2 adults. All I remember them having on was trench coats, but they must have had masks on because we couldn't see their faces. But the 2 adults walked in our living room and just stood there with their bags open. And I, even telling the story, can remember the tension in the room because it was very creepy and nobody knew who these people were and they weren't saying anything. I remember later Dad saying that he looked in their bag and they had beer in their bags, but he gave them ketchup, which is random. But I was so scared. And to this day, I am terrified of people in masks and face paint. And if you've got reflective sunglasses on, I can't talk to you. And I think that is a large contributing factor because I remember being so scared of these two strangers. So yeah, that's my scariest, like, real true life scary story right there. It happens multiple years ago tonight.
I haven't got any scary stories.
None? No
really.
paranormal scary stories?
No. I mean, real life is a lot more scary than...
Real life is a lot more scary. Well, talk to us about, surely you've been in some haunted location and had an experience like hearing children laughing that gave you pause.
I've had, but that's just a shock scare. That's the, when you're watching
it's
a
Halloween.
movie.
That's what we're doing.
All right. So you want a scary story for Halloween?
Yes.
Okay. It was a cold night on the moors.
Oh my goodness.
Actually, I think the best scare tactic I've ever used on my youngest daughter, and this is more of a Christmas story, is
Which can be just as scary as Halloween.
In Germany on 6th of December, they have what's called Nikolaustag. That's when Santa Claus comes around and gives out sweets on the 6th of December.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, and he turns up.
How did we get that so fucked up?
And, well, I mean, every country's got a different way of doing it. I mean, they open their presents on the 24th. So, that's... But anyway, my daughter used to have a pacifier. She's just like a little toddler, and she would not give up the pacifier. So, she was looking forward, and then I was playing Santa Claus. I came in, and I had the big sack, and I told her, I said, well, if you're good, you get candy from the sack. If you're bad, you go in the sack. Her eyes went huge. And then she's like, candy? I said, I will give you candy if you give me the pacifier. If you do not give me the pacifier, you go into the sack. And then her lips started to wobble, and I was like, oh man, maybe I've never done this. And then she just reached out, gave me a pacifier. I put it in the sack, gave her a big bunch of candy.
What a
and she
good girl.
never asked for the pacifier again. Ever.
She's got a story too of when she got fucked up as a kid.
So,
I mean, that seems like a good thing. It had a good outcome.
I mean, it did the designated effect. So.
Yeah, she was about to lose it.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, we tried taking it away God knows how many times, and she'd always cry and scream, and wouldn't, you're like, oh, just give it back to her. And then this time it was like, whoom, the gates came down. She's like, I don't want it because he'll come back and put me in the sack.
What's the scary guy from Christmas? Krampus.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's like,
you don't know about Krampus?
Krampus is like the evil
Krampus
Santa
looks
Claus.
like a demon.
All right.
Yeah.
And he takes bad kids and, eats them.
Yeah. That's kind of like the Nicholas thing on the 6th, yeah. There's a, I can't remember what he's called now, but there is like a black Santa that comes as well. So,
that's not
but he looked, no, not that way. He's not a African German. I was trying to figure that out because you can't be African American in Germany.
That's true.
So,
no.
he looks like a chimney sweep, and he's Santa's helper. There's the story that he also takes bad kids away.
Oh, well.
So that's
just
where
like
I kind of got
Krampus.
that idea.
Yeah.
I like it.
Putting her in the sack.
Yeah.
Parenting, so much fun.
It is.
I know.
What about you, Adam? When were you scared?
Oh, okay. So this goes back to my childhood, too, which is why I hate my wife's office.
It's fantastic.
It's not, because there's dolls. And dolls are creepy. I don't care what anybody says. Their eyes move. They watch me while I'm doing things in here.
Yeah, but that's just a blow-up kind.
Oh my god.
That is true.
There are no blow dolls in my office.
I only have blow-up sheep. That's fine.
Oh, Jesus.
It's got a leak. I had a block girlfriend once.
Okay.
All right.
I gave her a love bite. She flatulated and jumped out the window.
Woo! All right.
What's she done?
So when I was a little kid and I was in my bedroom and I could never sleep with my door open, I could never sleep with my door closed. It always had to be open. And my mom had two of those dolls that when you lay them back, their eyes close.
Baby dolls.
Huh?
Baby dolls.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care what they're called. That's unimportant to the story.
Okay.
The point is they sat there and they stared at me, and their eyes would blink, and they looked at me, and I think one of them even pointed at me one time and flipped me off. It was terrible, terrifying.
Why do you have dolls in your bedroom?
I didn't. They were in the hallway.
Oh, right. I would have shut the door myself.
I couldn't sleep with my door shut. So even to this day, if Sarah's not in the bedroom with me, I sleep with the door shut. When she was working overnights, I slept with the door shut.
Because of the dolls.
Because there might be a freaking doll. Have you seen this goddamn office?
Yes,
there's dolls everywhere.
I'm sitting in here right now.
I know, and some of them talk and shit.
None of them are saying anything right now.
They are.
They've never talked to
You
me.
just can't hear it.
I got voices in my head.
It's the dolls.
I just don't listen to them. I keep on killing.
You might want to edit that out too. There's gonna be.
It's Halloween. Come on.
Right.
You look like my mother.
So that is probably one of my scary moments as a child that scarred me.
But no Annabelle moments where the dog came and
it might have. You
tried
don't
to
know.
kill you.
It might have.
I'm asking you.
I don't remember it because I probably blocked it out of my memory, but it probably happened. If I was ever hypnotized, I might remember it.
Oh my god.
One of them had a knife. His name was Chucky.
Want to play?
You were so full. Your mother never had a doll with a knife named
But
Chucky.
you don't know.
I do.
You don't. You should ask her. Should we call her?
So, people always, kind of laugh at me when I tell them I can't, I don't pass out candy on Halloween. I can't look at the kids, little kids especially, with those beady little eyes darting all over, creep me out worrying about anything else. But I can go into a haunted location and be just fine. But that doesn't mean that I never get scared. And I guess, let me just kind of backtrack. I don't like to use the word scared because scared to me means running out. There have been plenty of times where I've been uncomfortable. Yes. The Queen Mary, I think for us was a good example of a time. So Adam and I went and investigated the Queen Mary in Long Beach, California. Shoot, it's been maybe 4 years now. 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, 3, I think. I want to say 2016.
Adam's an Oregon Ducks fan. And
Go Ducks.
So we went out. My uncles live in Long Beach, so we went and stayed with them so we could go to the Ducks-Trojans game, which that was
Let's not talk about the game. Move
such
over.
a great part of the
Skip
trip.
past the game. The rest of it was fun.
But my uncles were kind enough to pay for us to do the investigation on the Queen Mary. So it's $80 a person, and there is a tour guide who I'm going to call Brad. I have no idea what his name is.
Might have been Brad then.
I don't know. I've got his name somewhere. I cannot remember it, but he's very nice. And he comes in and he leads these groups all the time. Now, thankfully, the night that we did it, I want to say it may have even been like a Sunday night or something. So it was a weeknight.
Yeah, it was an oddball night.
So thankfully, there was just me and Adam, Brad, whoever the security guard that walked with us, another guy I'm going to call Jerry. I don't know his name, but this was like his 8th time investigating the Queen Mary. So basically, he just did his own thing, but we had to kind of do whatever Brad was telling us to do. And then another lady who was from like Cleveland. And I don't think she had ever been investigating before. It started off kind of slow. It was interesting. I didn't have like high hopes of really getting anything, but it was just kind of cool to get to experience that part of the ship and just to get to experience the ship in general. It's a beautiful thing. So we went through where like the door shut on the guy and killed him, and didn't get a whole lot there. And, you know, as you go through, Brad plays some audio from past investigations and tells you other people's stories about what they've seen and heard in all these different places. And it was neat, but like I said, didn't have high hopes. In fact, we didn't have any equipment with us. We had 2 cell phones that were, I tell you what, Los Angeles will eat your battery. I don't know what it is, but
Los Angeles will eat your soul.
I love LA. Anyway, so we had 2 cell phones that were slowly dying, and that's all we had for recorders or anything. And we were down in the pool area, and that's also a very big hot spot. And had just heard about the little girl who is down there, supposedly. And apparently there's a cat that they have seen as well down in that area. And so the security guard sat down in the chair in the pool area. The rest of us went into the dressing area, where supposedly there is a portal in the middle of the hallway. And Brad told us, you know, everybody get in your own little dressing area. They're kind of just like shower stalls, basically, without the shower. And so we were all, you know, sitting there along the hallway in our own little units. And we were being quiet. Brad was kind of telling us stories a little bit about what people have experienced there. And all of a sudden, we heard what sounded like the soundtrack for a slasher movie. I mean, this woman was screaming like she was being stabbed to death. She was being killed. She was freaked out. And it probably lasted maybe 35 seconds. It was really long. The weird thing is, Adam and Brad and I all heard her very clearly. The other lady said she kind of heard her, and Jerry, who was at the end of the aisle, did not hear her at all. So Brad went out and asked the security guard if he had heard her, and he said, well, I heard some guy talking. And there is no way, trust me, that you would have gotten this woman screaming for her life confused with a male talking. So those were not the same, but we had had 2 different experiences. So Brad came in and we were kind of talking about what we had heard, and all of a sudden she started screaming again. We ended up hearing her maybe about 4 times, and each time got shorter in length. So we went from maybe about 35 seconds, and I think the shortest one was maybe 5 or 10 seconds long. Brad said he had never heard anything like that in all the years he had been doing investigations there. Jerry never did end up hearing her. I'm not terribly convinced that the other lady with us heard her completely, but trust me when I tell you, Brad did his due diligence trying to find a reason for those screams. At that part of the ship, you're separated from where the guest rooms are, plus all the walls are very thick metal, so there's no way you would have heard that anyway. When we left, I was honestly very concerned that somebody had been hurt, like a real person had been hurt. Nobody has been murdered on the Queen Mary. There was no reports of anybody being harmed on the ship. I think Brad actually thought a guest was beating his wife or something.
Yeah, he went out in the one hallway that was on the back side of that area and checked around, and there wasn't anybody to be seen, which was interesting. But
there, nobody around. And it was just the craziest thing. And the experience that the security guard had was completely different. And he's just separated from us by a doorway, basically. But I know that we don't give a lot of. I'm speaking for the 3 of us. I don't believe any of us are real big believers in portals, but that is one potential explanation for the sound that we heard, because there's no other reason why we would. I mean, it's not residual. That never happened there.
Isn't there a story of someone being murdered in that area, but there's no proof?
There's stories of people being murdered literally everywhere.
Well, I know, but I mean, like, in that pool area, wasn't there something about a woman's body that was found?
I have no
supposedly
idea.
I'd have to look it up again.
I don't know, but it was creepy. And the weird thing, too, is we heard her so loud and clear. I mean, loud. Like, that's probably one of the loudest disembodied voices we've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
And the recording, I've got it amped all the way that I can get it, and you can just barely make her out. It still gives us goosebumps when we listen to it, but it didn't, and we've talked about that before too, like sound projection is not really, there's no way ghosts can talk the way we talk because the sound does weird things. So, yeah, that's one of our, in my opinion, one of our scary ghost stories. It was a little unnerving listening to her scream like that. I wish I had a really great recording I could play for y'all because you would all die, but I don't.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the, that was kind of a highlight. And it was kind of neat listening to the, as you call him, Brad. You know, I've never heard that before. That's so, you know, it's interesting. You know, it wasn't, and I'd be curious if he plays that. I mean, I know it's quiet. He had a recorder going too, and I don't know. Has he ever sent you? To my knowledge,
he didn't catch it.
Okay. I was just curious if he ever, because I know you sent him our copy.
Yeah. I would be interested. I hope he still tells people about that story because, in my opinion, it blows every other story on that ship out the water.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, I mean, short of a full-bodied apparition, that one definitely ranks up there. For sure.
One of the spirits set you on edge, Jonathan.
Right now.
No, I mean...
There is something thumping at the top of the stove.
That's my dog.
It is.
That's my dog. It's slim. I don't know why, but Farrar always puts the wind at me. More than Edinburgh, usually. Edinburgh comes and goes. Farrar, though, I don't know. And there's no reason for it. It just... There was the one time, and I don't know if I've told this story before, but I was coming out of there, and I hate, they always call it the safe zone.
Isn't that funny with the safe house
yeah,
and the safe zone?
This is the safe zone. It's like, okay. You know, we were coming out where we set the stuff up, and that's where all the nice chairs are, and I'm like, I need a smoke. And everyone was taking a break. So I get up, walk up the stairs, start going down one of the corridors, and I passed one of the classrooms on my left, and you know how you get peripheral movement? There's movement, peripheral. I turn my head to look at it, there's nothing there, but then you get that feeling like someone's walked over your grave, like something ran through me, and that put me on edge, and I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to go back to the safe room for a minute, and, you know, so, because it's like 2 a.m, you're tired, so I'm like, okay, am I starting to fantasize this stuff, or did that happen, or, you know, so I think that's probably the most I've been on edge, put it that way, on my own. So normally I don't care, you know, but that being said, I mean, there's also, for me, you build yourself up when you go on a ghost. You go to the scary place, you're building yourself up, so you're kind of psyched for it anyway.
Yeah.
And, you know, so there's a lot of times where I scare myself sometimes. Well, not scared, but put myself in that fight or flight situation in my own mind. Where someone says, oh, go down that dark corridor. I'm like, I really don't want to now.
Yeah.
You know? Normally it's like, yeah, you know, I put my rational brain on, but when I'm doing that, my rational brain isn't always front and center. So I'm like, wait a minute.
And I think that can explain a lot of people's maybe flight mechanism is just the fact that their senses are already heightened a little bit, and they're already in that kind of fearful moment.
And your brain fills in the gaps.
Right. And then you just, either that or, you know, you're already on edge, and then it just takes something little to send you over the edge.
Yep.
You know, I can think of a story when we were sitting in the boiler room at Edinburgh, and Sarah was sitting up on some little steps, like leaned up against a door, and I can distinctly just remember her saying, "Come help me," because something was scratching at the door. Which, I mean,
to be honest, I was more afraid that it was small and furry.
Right, she was more afraid of a mouse than that it was a ghost. Now, we didn't see any indications that it was anything. I mean, we didn't see, you know, a mouse, or we didn't see anything. And the doorway that she was sitting at, there was another door to the outside, so there was an empty space in there, so it wasn't a raccoon, because it would have had to get in that other door, so
But
I
it
don't
was
know.
Scratching
Yeah,
hard.
I don't know what was scratching on that door that scared her so much, but, you know, you're already in the boiler room at Edinburgh, you're already got your height, so
Well, but
you add
talk
that little
about
extra
what's
thing.
else is happening that night in that boiler room.
Well, between the boiler room or just the rest of the building.
Well,
I mean, while we're down in the boiler room, we're listening to furniture and footsteps and all kinds of crazy stuff happen upstairs. And every time we went upstairs to check it out, nothing. There's no one there.
Edinburgh's like that.
Yeah.
I swear to God, we spend most of the time we go there running from one end of the house to the other because we can hear it all going on over there.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get there,
it's
all happening, you know.
It's a big game of hide and seek.
Yep.
You know, I mean, for sure. That's definitely one thing about that building. But you know, that was honestly one of the crazier moments out there, because we really thought people broke into the building. I mean, we really, you know, like
we
truly
expected a group of like 10.
Yeah.
By how
'cause,
loud the voices were.
I mean, when you're hearing like what sounds like furniture sliding across the floor and footsteps and just crazy. I mean, and it wasn't just like bloom, bloom footsteps. I mean, it sounded like people running up and down the hallways. I mean, it was crazy. And we probably went up there two, maybe three times to check.
Took
Nothing.
the thermal cameras.
Yeah. Took the thermal, went around outside to make sure we didn't see anything outside, didn't see nothing. Our fire went out.
It did.
So John peed on the fire. It went out.
I was starting to scare me. I was seeing all kinds of pareidolia in there.
There was a face.
There was all kinds of faces. In fact, the logs looked like a big pig's head. I was like, oh, no. It does, look.
What?
That knot in the middle with the
It
flames
does a
going
little
around.
bit. I see what you're looking at.
Okay.
Pig's head looking to the right.
Yeah.
And it's on fire. It's Satan's bacon.
It is.
Satan's bacon. Nice. So to add to the end of that night, the room that would have been above us that we thought was probably where all the noises was coming from, we had a trap camera. And it took, I believe, 18 pictures through the night. And in 15 of those 18 pictures, there's one of us in there, which is totally understandable.
And what should be happening.
Uh-huh.
And that should be
Yes,
happening.
exactly. And that, you know, that takes a picture of something there. There's 3 photographs that it took around that same time frame, and I hate to even say it was around 3 o'clock in the morning, but it was.
Why do you
And
even
there's-
say that?
Because people have a lot of belief about 3 o'clock in the morning that I don't buy into.
I think every place has got its own time frame, right?
Well, it's not just Edinburgh. I mean, just people in general believe that 3 a.m. is a bad time. Because-
Actually, it is. When I was in the army,
Yeah.
you're going to attack a position, you do it between 3 and 4. Because
Oh.
that's when the human mind is
Well, yeah, I wouldn't
at the
disagree with
lowest
that.
point. So,
Yeah.
for some people, 3 o'clock is going to be a bad time.
Well, yeah,
You'll get
that's
us coming
true.
over there, like,
But people think that it's, you know, the opposite of when Jesus died on the cross.
oh,
He died at 3 p.m., so they think it's what do they call that? The witching hour? Is that what do they call that? Okay, well, 3 o'clock.
Everybody's got their...
3 a.m. is called something, but anyways, so, like I said, I hate to say it was 3 a.m., but it was.
how do they know when Jesus died?
They don't.
Nobody really does.
They didn't have clocks back then.
Well, they had sundials.
The guy's sitting there going, are we in BC or AD yet? As the clock's changed.
It's a standard time, central time zone, Eastern.
It can't be Greenwich Mean Time because Greenwich hasn't been founded yet.
Is that universal
It's
time?
Londinium.
It's that universal time.
No, they hadn't been founded yet either.
Well, you don't know.
I do, there was no movies then.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No. The fire's got you going. Down
Yeah.
It does. It's funny. I put a fire up on the screen and these two just like sit and stare at it.
Yep.
I can't help it. It's mesmerizing.
It's a man thing, maybe. You sit back on the fire, drink the beer.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Well, any other scary stories for this scary
We haven't been really that scary,
Halloween?
have we?
Well, that's because we're just super brave.
No, I mean, as far as... Well,
I want to know where the scariest place you've been in the UK is.
in the UK, oh my god. Dover Castle was kind of creepy and crap. But, Carnarvon Castle. But those are all done during the day. But when you start going down into, even though it's daylight and you've got people around you and tourists, you look around at the place and you're like, man, this place is kind of creepy.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I can imagine.
Being down there at night, that's...
Oh, can you imagine? Oh.
The London Dungeon, which is a waxwork, that was kind of creepy, but it's supposed to be. So, But the thing is, the thing that really makes it creepy is, so back in the day, the big old aqueducts and bridges in London, they got those huge arches under them, and they used to rent those out as storage spaces and
Oh, I didn't know that.
shops and stuff. Yeah. So they're kind of bricked off on one side for a reason, so that that huge arch is now a usable area. And then there's a place called the London Dungeon that opened up in one of those, and it's it's supposed to be creepy with all the mannequins. It's just creepy inside there anyway.
I can imagine.
So I mean, creepy places they're all over the place just because of the bloody old.
Well, and America's not any younger. We just had Native Americans here, and we haven't even begun to delve into their history like we should.
No, but there isn't much of it left standing for you to go and be creepy.
True, absolutely.
This is the problem.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, they didn't build to last anyway.
Well, I mean, I know that, but it just, a lot of their land where they would have had their tribes set up, it's been, developed, and I mean, it's just it's just not
that private investigation we did. I don't know if you saw that video when I was asking about, because it didn't make sense that the house had a ghost. It wasn't old enough. And we knew the provenance of it, that nobody died there. And
which we can tell the details now. So this is my parents' house, which is now sold and closed on and no going back.
Did you like a new ghost?
They signed the papers.
They did.
It's a friendly one, though.
It is. It's somebody else's ghost now. I'm
a little sad
that I'm a little sad that we didn't take more of an advantage of investigating there, but honestly, I never in a million years would have guessed that we'd come back with the great things that you were able to get out of there.
Yeah, I mean, our group went back for a second time, because we all went, like, the first time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we were picking stuff up that was, like, really weird, like, through the spirit box and that. And just, it was one of those, the timing of, we weren't getting any radio, and the only time we were getting anything through that spirit box was after a question.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling Adam, there's a radio station downtown Tama, which is just not even a mile from my parents' house.
Yeah.
And that's an FM channel, and we should have been at minimum getting that. We should have been getting a lot more than that, but...
So when we went back the second time, we put up the ghost feeder, and it was going off. Now, if you remember, we went after... So the Saturday before that, we'd gone to that church out in Tama. That thing didn't go off all night.
Nope, not one time.
So we know that, left alone by its own devices, it just doesn't go off.
Right.
I mean, and then when we did the flashlights through the radio, it never went off.
Didn't go off.
It doesn't, and there's tons of people around it. It's not people setting it off. But when we went into that bedroom, it started going off like crazy again. And I'm like, and I always doubt myself and my equipment. I'm like, no, if we got a short, let's reset it up, turn it off, turn it on, put new batteries in, just to make sure. But it was still doing it. And we were doing the ghost box and this and that, and we were asking. So we were just spitballing, just ideas. Like, okay, look, if it's not someone who lived here, and we were just going over the history of the area, and every time we said something as if to do an affirmative, it'd beep.
Yeah.
And then me and Jeff were talking, okay, so it's got to be the land. And then I had the idea why this room, because that room's it's not second story, but it's off where the ground is, because there's that basement half thing down there.
It's a split level house.
So I said, well, you know what? Maybe when they built the house, the land is lower than it was back then, because to build the house, you got to level it off, dig down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this room is actually where the level of land was. Kind of like Boiling Rectory, where you get the monk running down the path.
Sure.
And his legs are missing because they built the path up over time. So, and it kept going off when we were coming up with, not all the time, but then we were talking about, did they move around? But then we were figuring out, no, Tama was an established reservation. One of the few that didn't get screwed with on the Westward Rush, because they bought the land and they owned it and they didn't get screwed with. However, they were called the Fox before the Meskwaki. They were known as the Fox Tribe.
Yep.
And a lot of them did fight with Black Hawk in the Black Hawk Rebellion. Even though, some of the Tamans, not the big Tamer because they already had theirs, but a lot of them did go, some went fought. Mm-hmm. So we were like, and I said, did you fight in the Black Hawk Rebellion? And it went off. And then I'm like, and that was too much for me. So I said, okay, for confirmation, did you fight in the Black Hawk Rebellion? Beep, off it went again.
Yeah, and if you haven't watched the video, do, because it's not like it's just randomly beep, 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 beeping. It's one solid.
Yeah. So, and we've got more. I just don't have time to go through it, So, and I'm trying to improve our spirit box, because as much as I've enjoyed working with SB7, it's starting to really get on my nerves now that I'm hearing the hiss and the crackle of it searching over what I'm hearing through it. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try and figure something out that squelches that crap out, and then maybe we'll get out and understand, and rule out stuff that are just coincidence or not. But, we'll see. Anyway, so yes, getting back to what we were originally talking about, that was not scary, but that was extremely interesting for me.
I'm really actually excited about that because, having grown up in Tama outside of a Native American settlement, it wasn't until recently that it actually occurred to me how silly it is that I haven't been focusing more on the Native American side of what we do. And that's one area that I am so eager to learn more and more about. And actually, I need to find somebody within the tribe. They've got stories. My school was full of, obviously, people who are part of the Meskwaki tribe. So I've heard a lot of their stories. I want to learn more about those stories and how they interact with the things we believe. And someday I actually want to go investigate out at the settlement. And let me tell you, folks, as somebody who has actually been out there at night, it's creepy as shit.
There are 3 burial mounds in Anamosa. Not Anamosa, in the Amanas.
Really?
Yep, that I want to go do. And they're on a public trail, so you can get to them.
Oh, yeah. I had no idea.
I've heard that.
Yep, they are.
Well, and the effigy mounds are by
they're northeast.
Dubuque.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, these are down in Amanas.
I had no idea.
Hmm.
Very interesting. Yeah. So there's also a fort in northeast Iowa that I want to go to, and they actually held a lot of Native Americans there too. So, we always think of, like we were talking about, we always think about the UK being so historic and being so much older, but really it's not. We just quit for some reason looking at what was here before all of us. We need to look at more of the Meskwaki beliefs, or not the Meskwaki, Native American beliefs. Meskwaki just happens to be true to Tama, but we'll look at more of their beliefs and the stories that they were telling.
I'd be curious to know, obviously the Native American people in their own, they're very spiritual. They have great rituals and great beliefs. I would be curious to take the video of your conversation with your thing and show it to one of them, and just to see what they would say.
Sure.
See what they're.
I'd like to go with them and investigate with them.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
And have them ask the questions.
Absolutely.
Well, for any of our listeners who are getting a wild hair up their ass, I will let you know the Meskwaki settlement in Tama is private property.
Yes.
That's why the roads are not paved. So unless you are part of the tribe or have been personally invited, you will be trespassing if you go out there on your own. So do not go out there thinking you're going to go on a ghost hunt without proper permission, just like anywhere else.
Well, yeah, never go into any location without
You'll come back
permission.
looking like Adam.
Yes.
That is not a good thing.
Spelt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's that, too.
Yeah, really?
I
I
just
was-
thought
I
you
was
meant
with you, John. I
just
was
me.
with you.
I
was like,
Oh man, that fire's doing you in.
It is. I can't take my eyes off it.
I know, that's the trouble though. You watch a burning fire, me personally, my IQ just starts going away. And after about an hour looking at the fire, I'm like, whatever. What's Pythagoras' theorem? I don't know. Don't look at fires.
don't look at fire. All right. Well, we have shared a few of our stories. Just wanted to do something a little bit more laid back for my favorite holiday. I realize by the time you hear this, it won't be Halloween anymore, but
I know I've eaten all the candy.
we have.
You'll still be wishing it was Halloween, I can tell you that.
Yes. But next week, we are actually going to start something that I hope that we can start doing a little bit more of, and we're going to do case studies. So, next week, our case study will involve a young woman who lived on the West Coast in 1974 and the experiences that she had within her home. And we're going to talk about what happened to her, what we think was really going on, and maybe some implications it might have into the things we believe today.
We also
are
going to do a live one.
We are. I've let Shay know. And actually, interestingly enough, we've talked several times about the Jailhouse Inn in Elkader, which is a bed and breakfast, and Julie has invited us to record there as well. So we'll be doing an episode from the Jailhouse Inn in Elkader soon. And then we'll do an investigation. We'll probably do our investigation after our recording. But we'll obviously talk about our investigation after that too. So we're excited to have that invitation from Julie. So thank you, Julie.
We can have a pre-investigation show and then a post-investigation show.
Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of thought, we'll record an episode or go live, whichever the case might be, and then hopefully we can get some of our listeners to follow us live on Facebook for a little bit of our investigation. A little bit.
There you go.
That's fine.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so be watching. We'll keep everybody posted on those dates once we get them settled.
It'll be like the Blair Witch. I'm so sorry. I don't know where I am.
Dear Christ.
Adam would be standing in the corner facing the wall.
Oh, we could do that. We could do that down in that basement because
Yeah.
it's an old limestone style basement. It definitely, we could find a corner to stand in.
I'm so sorry, Facebook.
That's where all the evidence was.
I need like some snot coming out of my nose, and
And my cell phone was found buried underneath a 300-year wall.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, if you want to find John, see what he's up to, you can catch up with him on Facebook and YouTube at WTF Investigations. Of course, that's also their website, WTFinvestigations.com. You can find his book, Leaps of Faith, on Amazon.
People have told me if you search for ghost hunting and objectivity, you find it faster because there are a lot of books out there called Leaps of Faith.
Oh, okay. Well, we've obviously got links to it on our Facebook page too. I forgot it's the Facebook.
The Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you want to catch up with me, you can do that on the Facebook and Twitter at C Paranormal Sarah. It's SEE Paranormal Sarah with an H.
I still want to get a Facebook cushion.
And if you're looking for the three of us, you can find us also on Facebook and Twitter at Seeking the Paranormal. So, my friends, have a great rest of your night. Keep seeking out the paranormal, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye now.
Thank you for listening, and be sure to follow Seeking the Paranormal on Facebook at Seeking the Paranormal, and also on Twitter at Seeking the P.